let's just take a look at this. I've been watching the forwards play recently and how they're starting to carry, and it's becoming a bit of a trend. So we take a look at a couple of examples to show you what I mean. You see a lot of guys stood in the 3 formation off the side of a ruck, whether it's first phase, second phase. But when they're stood still and they're taking the ball stationary, they don't seem to get any ground. This is a good example in Saracens' game. He didn't really carry there, we didn't see it because it cut away. But there's a different example of a forward really accelerating through onto the ball, changing their line and dictating the speed of the pass from 9. Again, even in really close proximity, Jamie George changes his line, gets to the outside, gets on a shoulder. So it's made a lot easier, I think, to get over that gain line if the forward instigates the movement rather than the 9. Just talk me through that scenario. So when we're stood here, you have your normal 3 formation, the diamond, arrowhead, whatever you want to call it. But if you're taking that ball standing or the ball hits you on the hip from 9, what are you faced with?
A lot of line speed, to be honest. If you're taking the ball stood still, then it's a lot easier for the D-line to fly up and just chop you.
What's the D-line? Explain what the D-line is.
The defensive line.
Oh, sorry, the defensive line, right.
To come forward and just get easy chop on you. But on the flip side of that, if you're taking the ball moving forward, you can sort of use a bit of footwork at the line, and the defensive player has to watch the ball as well because he doesn't know whether it's going to go to the player or at the back. So you have to watch the ball, and then if you use a bit of footwork late at the line, you can sort of cut that hole.
OK, so let's walk through that with the girls. So we pass the ball. This now, the play is instigated by the 9's pass. So what happens here, the defensive line, as you can see, can really accelerate. They normally get double hit, 2 either side, and then you end up with this guy latching, this lady latching on this side, and you end up with a bit of a melee, and it ends up on the floor, and often not even close to the gain line. Let's just change that picture ever so slightly. So the 9 now, the ball's ready, and you're watching the base. Now, defenders, if you take this camera here, and these are the eyes of the defender's always looking straight in at the ball at the base. So if he's looking, or she's looking at the ball at the base, he's straight in there. He's looking at that, that is his trigger. That's when he sets off. But if we have the line down, it's instigated by a movement by one of the forwards. You all run lines, you all pick lines, you just pick one out. While you come forward, you then got to change, and you're slightly off balance, aren't you? So how much more difficult for you as a forward is that tackle?
Yeah, the tackle's a lot harder, but the carry's a lot easier as well, so it's going to make everything harder for the D-line. You have to obviously be 80-20 watching the ball and watching the man, and if they are all giving it footwork at the line, you don't know who the ball's going to. You've got that third option coming in flat as well from the outside, and you've got the tip option or playing at the back, so the defensive line doesn't really know what to do, and you want to catch them static on their heels so you can make that bust.
Well, the other thing that I'd like to see more of, more sides, particularly we saw this static play a lot from Leicester and a lot from Bath at the weekend. One way to remedy that, I think, is let's imagine that you've got a big centre. Let's say it's Jamie Roberts or it's Manu Tuolangi. We've come off a line out. This centre is now carried and he's made the gain line. That makes all the difference to a forward's running line. So we've made the gain line. Now you've got these forward defenders in front of the ball. They've got to back off. They've got to come round the corner, and they don't get in that position quickly enough to make a decision and to number off and get in their zones. But what it also gives to the forwards and to the 9 is options and motion. As a forward coming round the corner, what do you think? What are you looking at?
So obviously they've got to transition from the line. If they're on the back foot, like you said, with Jamie Roberts or a Manu getting on the front foot anyway, so this D-line's coming back, they've got to trap back and then get set. So if you're coming around early, if you come with me and the 9 scoots out, you're sort of trying to hit this hole here. So if you bite on me and then this second person has to come on you, it can just come here on the shoulder there. And everyone in motion, it just makes it so hard for the D-line when you're transitioning back from that line out, that scrum.
So it gives you options in the attack. Let's run through one at a decent bit of speed. The Wasp girl did an amazing one in rehearsals, not putting any pressure on. But as we come round the corner now, so we're all the forwards, we've run round the corner, we're calling, 9's made a break, and she's waiting, and she just distributes the pass to the outside. And that's exactly what you want to see, isn't it?